Welcome. This is To Our Core with Katie Murray, and this is a place where we peel back our layers to uncover who we really are at our centre, at our core. And think of it as a chat with your bestie, the one who can make you laugh until your belly hurts, who is ridiculously unfiltered and will lovingly call you forward to help you cut through the noise and get real with yourself. Around here, nothing is off limits, and we are mixing this up with equal parts humour and heart, so let's dive right in. Hey gorgeous humans, and welcome back to Our Core. I'm Katie, the intro said it all, and today we're going to be diving into a big topic, and it's something that I think a lot of people can relate to, and that's the question of, who the hell am I? Like really? Seriously, who the hell am I? Now, if you're anything like past version of Katie, the second you hear that question, your brain goes into panic mode. Like, you know, when they ask as an icebreaker, tell me about your hobbies, and you think, oh my God, I don't have any hobbies. Like your mind deletes any potential thing that you may have ever been interested in. So you sit there and you're like, I'm a mum, or I'm a wife, or I am an employee, a snack provider to tiny little humans who are dictators. I am an emotional support human. I am an unpaid Uber driver, and I'm probably also the only person in my home that appears to know how to change the toilet roll. Sounding familiar? See, the thing is, we often, when we get asked those questions, we look at the roles that we play, the hats that we wear, the costumes that we put on. And they're important to our sense of self, and also they're not the whole picture. And sometimes the costumes that we have been wearing for a really long time, they don't fit so good anymore. Or worse, they're scratchy. Like, does anyone recall a time in their childhood where perhaps their mother said, wear this, and she'd picked you out an outfit, and there might have been a family photo that was happening, and she's like, this will look lovely on you, darling. And it involved a turtleneck that had like lace around the edges. It just was enough to feel abrasive against your skin, like you basically have been dragged along gravel, but you look so nice. Well, they're the costumes I'm talking about. They're scratchy, and we are still squeezing ourselves into them, not necessarily in a literal sense like the turtleneck with the lace. We are squeezing ourselves into the costumes that we identify as ourselves because we think that someone else likes how they look on us. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to strip back the roles, the titles, and the people-pleasing to see if we can get just a little bit closer to who you are at your core. Because we juggle so many things, in our lives. And we humans love to define ourselves by what we do. Our jobs, our achievements, the roles, all of it, all up in the air. We'll say things like, I'm a lawyer, or I'm a mum, or I'm a wife, or I'm a customer service employee. And none of that answers the question of who we are at our core. Because here's the kicker. If tomorrow your job disappeared, if your kids grew up creating their own lives and they rely on you a little less, if your titles changed, or your relationships altered in some way, you'd still be you. The core of you doesn't vanish just because those roles and titles and labels that we give ourselves might change. This is not a LinkedIn headline, yeah? And yet when someone asks, tell me about yourself, most of us freeze. And we either rattle off job titles like a resume, or we panic and say something ridiculous like, once upon a time, I won a meat tray at the RSL. And then you spend the entire time, whilst you should be engaging in conversation with someone or being attentive in a meeting, thinking, a meat tray? Is that the best I could come up with? A meat tray? And the reason why we do that is because we have confused what we do with who we are. So I want to get into the juicy stuff. And I'm going to start by cracking the can and talking about people pleasing. Because at first glance, it looks really harmless. Sweet even. Oh, she's so nice. She's the helpful one. The reliable one. The one who always says yes, even though your whole body might be screaming, hell no, I don't want to do that. No, why are you saying yes? I don't want to do that. And maybe you've been the person when the school sends out the notice saying, bring a plate for the school fundraiser, and you could grab a packet of Tim Tams from the local supermarket, yet instead you decide that it would be a fantastic idea to handcraft a triple layer, gluten-free, dairy-free, organic lemon meringue tart with toasted coconut flakes on top, while muttering under your breath, why do I do this to myself? Why do I say I'm going to do this? Because this is a new recipe, and now suddenly I am sitting here trying to prove my worth through a tart. That's not just overcommitting. This is not a time management issue. This is self-sabotage disguised as kindness. And here's why. Because every time you say yes when you mean no, every time you overgive, hoping that it's going to earn you approval or validate you or prove your worth, every time you play small so no one else feels threatened, you are sabotaging your own needs, your own wants, your dreams, and your aspirations. And it can look like this. Staying late at work to impress your boss, even though you feel so burnt out and you feel so tired, and your partner has asked you that many times, can you just come home on time tonight? I'd love to have dinner with you. You're the one that always says yes when there's a new project that needs to be handled, and you're like, sure, I'll do it. Because you believe that if you can deliver, that if you always say yes, if you put your hand up first, that you will prove that you're worthy of being there. Maybe it's when you're pretending you are fine. You are fine in your relationships, even though your heart is craving for more. And like there's a variety of different tones that can be attached to that word. It can be like, I'm fine. And we know the person's not that fine. Or it might be that you go, I am fine. And your partner might know that there is nothing fine. There is nothing fine about this situation, and somehow they are probably in trouble. Or there's like the Ross Geller version of like, Friends, where he goes, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. I don't know why my voice is so high-pitched. There is often nothing fine about the word fine. Yet we say it because we think it will meet someone else's need and it will disguise our own. It looks like turning down an opportunity because you're afraid it will upset someone. And you fear more about upsetting someone else than you do about upsetting yourself. Or on the surface, it looks like you're being kind. And underneath, it is fear. People pleasing isn't about kindness. It's about avoiding rejection. And I heard not that long ago this statement that actually made me stop in my tracks. And that was that people pleasers are the master manipulators. And I was like, wow, that sounds harsh. And also, often the things that sound a bit harsh and the reason why we feel like we feel a bit triggered is because there's ammunition in us, that it's hit something within us. Because when we are people pleasing in a way that sacrifices ourselves and ignores all the signals that says, I do not want to do this, you are ultimately trying to control someone's perception of you. You are performing in a way that you are hoping you're going to get a specific outcome, a specific response, a specific perspective of you. And so you try and control the situation through pleasing them. And I am not making it in any way that pleasing someone else is a bad thing. Like, I get a lot of joy out of bringing pleasure and joy and happiness to people. That is one of the greatest things in terms of like my use of humor in all domains of my life, is that I want them to feel good. I want them to have that belly laugh. I want them to break whatever monotony of their day might be present for them. And that's not about me. And it's in no way sacrificing me. However, I receive a benefit back in that I love to see people happy. People pleasing becomes problematic when it ignores everything within you and all the cues and all the little insights that say, please don't do this, please don't say yes. Please don't overcommit yourself when this is not what you want to do. Your brain, when you people please at the detriment of yourself, is saying to you, if you just keep everyone else happy, then you'll be safe. Safe from rejection, safe from critique. And the thing is that a lot of the time when we engage in unhelpful people-pleasing behaviour, we get the validation and affirmation and like the reinforcement that that is well received, because people like people-pleasing when they're on the receiving end, because it meets a need in them. And it's not necessarily malicious or calculated that they're like, oh yeah, Katie's a people pleaser, so that really works out well for me, so I'm going to manipulate that. It's not like that. It's just that by you doing stuff for them all the time, by you saying yes, even though internally you don't want to do it, you're meeting a need in them. So they'll be like, oh, you're so lovely. You are so kind. And so your brain goes, great, we need to do more of this in order to be accepted, in order to be worthy, in order to be lovable, in order to not be abandoned. And the cost is huge, because in the process of doing that, at your own detriment, you reject yourself, you reject your intuition, and you reject your self-trust. And that's why I call people pleasing one of the sneakiest forms of self-sabotage, because it's stuck in patterns that stop you from growing. And you know what your brain, your unconscious mind loves? It loves patterns and routine. It does not like growth. Your brain wants to keep you alive. Your unconscious mind wants you to survive. And when you grow, you're expanding, you're pushing the envelope, you're going to a new level, you're doing different things. And your brain, your unconscious mind, hates it because it's not predictable. Doing things in a different way can make your brain, your unconscious mind, feel really, really, really unsafe, because there is a part of the brain that actually called the amygdala, which is designed to interpret the unfamiliar as a potential threat or danger. So it can go into high vigilance very quickly, yeah? It's like it's preparing you to run from the saber-toothed tiger. However, there's not many of those in my backyard anymore, and it's still responding in the same way when you try and break out of the patterns that you're used to, or shift your identity, or do something new. I felt it when I first launched this podcast. It started going, oh, don't do that. That's not known to us. We've never done anything like that before. That is not going to work out well. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try and give you all these messages that convinces you to come back and stay in the safe of what we know. And so knowing that our brain loves to keep us stuck in patterns that stop you from growing, showing up fully, and actually living the life you want, it's going to try and call you back into the known, even when the known and the familiar is not a life that you necessarily want. So who are you underneath all of the noise? One of my favorite questions is that I often ask my coaching clients when we're exploring identity and people pleasing and performing. I will ask them, if nobody was watching you, if nobody had an opinion, if nothing bad could happen, if no one could get hurt, how would you show up? Would you dress differently? Would you finally admit that you love karaoke, even though you sound like a strangled cat when you sing? Would you tell the truth or your opinion in that meeting instead of nodding along and going along with groupthink, because that somehow comforts you that you are accepted and that you belong? That no filter, no audience version of you, that's your core self. It is the you that does not need applause or approval to feel valid. It's the you that laughs out loud, really loud, like full belly laughs, that snorts when they laugh. It's the feeling of peace near the ocean. It's the person that secretly loves licking off the salt and vinegar off their chips before they eat them, far more than is probably healthy. And like, it's not me. I'm not talking about me. I actually don't like salt and vinegar chips. And also I know people that do literally lick the chip to get all the salt and vinegar off before they eat the chip. And I've got a couple questions about that. One, does it not make you, like the salt and the vinegar, not make your tongue feel a little bit weird, like fuzzy? And also, does it make the chip soggy? And also, tapping into those things and actually behaving in a way where there's no audience, no proving, no justifying why you do things. In those moments, that's who you are, really, to your core. And because we're on this topic of self-sabotage, I do want to share something super exciting. And that is that I just recently opened the waitlist for my brand new 6-week group coaching program. And it's called the Self-Sabotage Solution. And this is for you if you're nodding along right now thinking, oh my God, Katie, I feel so seen. These things that you're talking about, I do them all the time. If you're sick of saying yes when you mean no, if you're tired of procrastinating, you're tired of striving for perfection all the time, or putting everyone else first and yourself dead last, this is for you. Through this 6-week group coaching program, I am going to guide you through the tools, the mindset shifts, and the deep inner work that will help you finally stop sabotaging yourself and start stepping into your boldest, most unapologetic self. This is your opportunity. You know the saying when they say, if nothing changes, nothing changes? Well, I've got a sneaky suspicion that people are not just here listening to this podcast for the giggles. I think people are here listening into this because there is something very quietly, potentially, almost a whisper, and still there saying, I want change. I want to be the person that feels most like me. Maybe it's that you're even sitting there going, I know I show up in all of these ways, in all of these behaviors, and I don't know who I am, and I want to find out. I want to find out who I am. And if you're ready to break free from people-pleasing and overthinking and self-sabotage in all of its sneaky forms, then this program is for you. And the waitlist is open now. You'll find the link in the show notes. And what does joining mean in terms of the waitlist? Well, it means that you're the first to know when doors open, because this program I have designed, particularly the first round, I want it to be so intimate. I want it to be so truthful. I want it to be so authentic. And in order to do that, I'm going to keep this group coaching container quite small. And I want you to be part of it. And the only way you can be part of it is by being on the wait list, so you're the first to know. Don't miss out and go, oh, I really would have loved to do that. And I didn't. Because if nothing changes, nothing changes. And by being on the wait list, you'll also get access to special bonuses that I'll be announcing exclusive to the wait list. This is your opportunity to take the action that you say that you want in your life, to create the life that you want, and stop letting the excuses and the behaviors hold you back anymore. And so let's wrap this up by bringing home some simple practices that you can try over the next couple of weeks. First of all, I'm going to invite you to pause before you say yes to things. So you know that person that comes up to you and goes, oh my goodness, Katie, can you come out for drinks on Friday night? I really feel like a big one. And you go, yes. And inside, Katie is going, I do not want to do that. There is no part of me that wants to go out and have a big night. In fact, what I had envisaged for Friday night was takeaway on the couch, watching The Summer I Turned Pretty, and just chilling the hell out after a really big week. That's what I want to do. And instead, you've lent into, yes, of course I'll do that. Yay! So I'm going to ask you to pause before you say yes. When someone asks you to do something, take a breath and ask yourself, is this a true yes? Or am I people pleasing? Now, I would highly recommend that you say that internally, that when someone has come up and gone, hey, Katie, do you want to go out for a drink? You don't verbalize. Is this a true yes, or am I people pleasing? That is an internal conversation that you have, yeah? And I want you to really check into the signals that show up for you. And so that you don't stand there awkwardly for a good 15 to 20 seconds looking like a stunned mullet while they wait for your response. A really great strategy to kind of buy yourself some time to have that pause is to say, that sounds amazing for you. And also, I'm just going to need to check in about what else is going on for my week and how I'm feeling energy-wise, and I'll come back to you, yeah? And most people, unless they're like super peer pressury, in those circumstances, they might be a bit more persistent, and then that's also up to you to check in with yourself and say, who do I need to be in these moments where I feel pressure to say a certain response? Most people that hear, can I come back to you about that? That sounds exciting. Exciting for you. I'll come back to you and I'll let you know, yeah? Most people will go, sure, yeah, no worries, great, let me know. So I want you to pause before you say yes. 2, I want you to write down 3 things about you that have nothing to do with your roles. Not, I'm a mum or I'm a manager. More like, I'm adventurous or I'm curious or I am funny in a like choke on my own saliva, choke on air, trip over my own feet kind of way. I'm funny. 3, I want you to reframe people pleasing and start calling it for what it is, which is sabotage. Next time you catch yourself overcommitting or shrinking to keep the peace, I want you to remind yourself of this. This isn't kindness. This is me holding myself back. And who do I want to be in this moment? How is this serving me? Because it's your life. Like, it might sound obvious, and also there's so many parts of us that don't act in a way where we embody that. So who are you really? Not the job, not the labels, not the carefully curated version of you that never ruffles any feathers, that never has an opinion that might be different from someone else's. At your core, you are already enough. You are messy and brilliant and complicated and lovable and worthy. And when you strip away the roles and you stop sabotaging yourself with people pleasing, then guess what? You give yourself permission and that version of you to go out and shine, to become so bright. All right, loves, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for being here today. I'd love for you to pop on over, see me on Instagram, send me a DM, let me know what landed. And don't forget the waitlist to the self-sabotage solution is now open. That's going to be linked in the show notes. And if you are ready to truly stop holding yourself back, then this is your moment. This is the permission piece. If you need a permission piece, here it is. This is your invitation. If nothing changes, nothing changes. So what are you going to do about this? Step into your power to change the patterns that are no longer serving you. Because I want to invite you to remember, the most radical, courageous thing that you can do is to be unapologetically, wholly, deeply yourself. Right down to your core. Thanks for spending time with me today on To Our Core. If something landed in your heart or gave you a much needed giggle, consider sharing it with a friend who also may need this as a timely reminder. And go on. You know you want to. Give me a 5-star review so that this podcast can land in the ears of many, many more people. Because remember that life is too short to stay on the surface. Keep living, loving, and laughing all the way to your core. Go make life great. And if you want support around this, go to the show notes to find out more. Until next time, I'll meet you back here with more truth, laughter, and a whole lot of heart.